I started writing online in 2020 and it was by far the best decision I've made of my life. I've attracted over 280,000 readers, made around $1.4 million, built my dream business and created a life where I get to basically do what I want, where I want, with who I want. My only regret is that I did not start much sooner. I always thought it would be cool to be a writer, but I was stuck on the sidelines watching people build their empires one word at a time. And I dread to think where I would be right now if I had the guts to start knowing what I know at the moment. And when I speak to people in a similar boat, either they're not writing at all or they're writing but they're not very consistent, it's always the same excuses. You know, I don't have time, or I'm too late to the party, there's too much noise online, I can't get heard. And of course, what's the point with AI on the horizon? But I guarantee that if you wrote for 12 months, those excuses would be as flat as a pancake. So I want to give you 7 reasons why you should be writing every single day, especially with AI on the horizon. So grab yourself a cup of tea and let's dive in. Reason number 1, writing is a vehicle for transformation. So look, I started writing because I craved a creative hobby. Okay, my job as a dentist was very mechanical. It's, you know, same conversations, drill, fill, and after a little while it became very unfulfilling. And then when I started to learn that writing was actually very profitable, it became an escape plan for the 9 to 5. And you kind of get sucked into this idea that, you know, writing is just about making money. But the best benefit that I have found by far is not money but meaning. Because here's the truth, writing is not about, you know, the words that you put on paper. It's about the person that you become as a result. I am yet to meet a single writer who has not posted online for 3 years, who hasn't expressed a deep and meaningful change in the person that they are and the way that they think. And there's a whole host of reasons that we're going to go through today why that is the case. But the main one is purpose. Purpose is a hell of a drug. Even the act of starting writing will put hair on your proverbial writing balls, because you've got fear of failure, doubt, fear of judgment, all of these things that you have to contend with. Most people just don't do it. But when you kind of overcome them, the person that you're becoming as a result is worth every word. It takes guts, right? But guts is how you live a great life. You don't get what you want by hiding in the shadows. So my first tip is that if you haven't started, start. If you have started, carry on. And if you're having doubts, good, because nobody became the person that they wanted to be by avoiding pain or taking it easy. And now you might be thinking, oh great, so the main reason you're telling me to write online is because it's going to hurt. Kieran, that's not such a good sell. So next 6 reasons, let me sweeten the pot for you. Reason number 2 is that writing is thinking. So when I was a dentist, I would be lucky if I spent 20 minutes with my thoughts in a day. You know, maybe I'll do a little bit of meditation, but even that was just a reactive thing to try control my stress and anxiety, right? It wasn't a proactive, I want to improve my mind. It was like, holy shit, let's just try to stop everything burning down. But as a writer, you are incentivized to think clearly, because the clearer you think, the clearer you write, the clearer you write, the clearer you think. And so you actually end up spending, especially when you quit your job, so much time with your thoughts. You're going to be writing, let's say 4 to 6 hours a day if you want to, which is an incredible amount of time just to get your ideas on paper. But when you're not writing, you need to be resting, you need to be working on your creativity. And so you're walking, you're meditating, you're journaling, you're doing yoga, having interesting conversations. All of this makes the act of writing incredibly worth it. And it's also going to set you apart. Why? Because by writing every day, you are thinking every day. And in such a modern society of just quick dopamine hits all the time, that is an extremely rare habit to have. And so when people say, oh, you know, writing isn't worth it with AI coming, the world is going to be split into the people that use AI to, you know, be more productive, to create space to be creative, and people that just rely on AI to do all their thinking for them. Writing is going to put you in the small bucket of people that actually advance as a result. And this leads me to reason number 3, why the AI side isn't actually too much of a problem. Writing is going to make you a crisp communicator. So for example, I was just on a podcast and halfway through, he was like, man, you talk in tweets. And I laughed, you know, it's good. It's a very good compliment for someone like me. And the reason why I talk in tweets is because I spend so much time writing about my ideas. And so there's a thing with Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said that pretty much every single thing he said has been pre-written beforehand. And the reason being that when you're putting your thoughts on paper, you really see how scrambled and chaotic and confusing they are. But the more you write, the sharper you end up communicating. And online, when there is so much noise and so much noise to come, crisp communication is king. Tweet that. And look, this isn't actually anything new. If you look at pretty much all the powerful people in history, they all swore by some form of writing. Success leaves clues. All right, but there is a word of warning here. The more you write, the more you appreciate brevity. And so you just build this horrible intolerance for waffle when people like describe a point with 10 words when 2 words should do. So on that note, I'm going to shut the hell up about this reason and move on to our next one. Although before I do, crisp communication, by the way, is just a byproduct of copywriting. Copywriting is the art of persuasion with the written word. And I wrote a simple framework for you called the Sucks framework that shows you everything you need for the basics of copywriting, content, emails, ads, whatever you're doing. It's going to make you a much better writer. It takes 5 minutes to read. It's completely free and it is just down in the link below. So make sure you grab it at the end of this video. So reason number 4 why you want to be writing is that writing is a magnet for opportunities. So when I was a dentist, one of the most difficult parts that was weighing on my mind was I felt trapped. Okay, I had spent 8 years going down this career path that's highly specialized, that isn't really that flexible, like you can't really drill teeth on Twitter. And I was like, man, I just want to be free, but I have literally no idea how to get there. And so instead of focusing on that outcome, I found writing and I thought, let's just have fun writing. Let's just start sharing my thoughts online, the stuff I'm learning, the stuff I'm doing, the stuff I'm thinking. And sure, at first, nobody cared, but the better I got at writing, the more people began to pay attention. And what happened was the words began to open up the doors of opportunity. People started wanting to work with me. And then when I started getting quite good, I managed to build a product to solve people's problems, okay, which started to lead to revenue, which then led to podcast interviews with some of my favorite podcasters. I've met my favorite entrepreneurs. I'm actually friends with quite a few of them. I get to travel the world. All of these things are just a byproduct of putting my thoughts out online. And that's the really exciting bit. The internet has no rules, it has no boundaries, it has no bloody boss telling you what to do. You don't need anyone's permission except yourself to put yourself out there. You don't need to be an expert to have something worth saying either. You just need experience and a problem worth solving. And if you haven't really got that either, you just share your story as you solve your own shit. It is absolutely fantastic and so good at attracting opportunities and options, and people are much, much happier when they know that they have options in life. You will be too. But the key, please, is that you have to write well. And so one of my main mistakes when I started to realize that I could go viral if I said certain things in certain ways is that I started sucking on that digital dopamine crack pipe like I'd never hit it before. And over a couple of months, my content started getting more generic, more shit, very unremarkable. And it was only when a couple of writers that I really respected were actually laughing at me on the timeline that I stopped and I started reading my content and I was like, yeah, you do suck actually. All right. And so my rule now is that I do not post anything that I am not a fan of myself, and I only write stuff that I'm really excited to write, because how you feel seeps through into the page. And if you want to attract the highest level of attention, you have to respect yourself by writing good stuff. If your magnet is a piece of shit, don't be surprised when everything you attract stinks. And if only there was a good guide to help you write well, there's one in the link below. Now, talking about attracting opportunities, one reason why we get so many opportunities leads us to the next point. Writing builds leverage. So what is leverage? Leverage is your ability to get more done with less effort. To put it tangibly, as a dentist, I could only treat one patient at a time, right? The drill was my leverage. If I wanted to do 2 mouths at once, it'd be the fastest way to get sued. But as a writer, you have 2 of the most powerful leverage points in the world. You have your mind and you have the internet. And when you combine those things, crazy things happen. So let me just reframe this for you. Every word you write, everything that you publish, it's not just a document out there. It's not a product. It's not a course. It's not an email. It is a robot that works tirelessly day and night to build your business for you, to create relationships for you, so that you are not tied down to whatever you're doing for work. Okay, so leverage equals freedom. And the cool bit is that it all adds up. It's like pressure building in a dam. The more leverage that you build, and then eventually, and sometimes like it's kind of this expression of like nothing happens and everything happens, it bursts. Okay, to put this as a couple of examples, it used to take me 3-4 hours to write a newsletter. Please don't do that, by the way. You don't need to write these mega essays with tons of links. You just need one story, problems, right? And we've got videos for that in my channel as well. Now it takes me half an hour to 40 minutes to write an email. 3 years ago, zero money made. I've written emails that have genuinely made about $30,000 in 30 minutes, which, is a launch email, but even still, pretty damn cool. At the start, no one reading, Now the size of a small city is reading my content. That's leverage, okay? So you're just going up and up, okay? And that's the reason why writing online is worth it. So when someone tells me they don't have time or it's not going well, I'm like, man, zoom the hell out, right? Every single word is leverage, which means that whatever you're writing now, don't look at the worth in the present, okay? Look at the worth in the future. Tell yourself that this whole thing is building this beast that can unlock an incredible amount of revenue, but also just an incredible amount of freedom, right? Because like now, for example, let me run you through one of my little systems. I can write a 2-minute tweet. I do all my writing in Notion. My VA will then go and post that tweet on Twitter, obviously, but then also across 4 other social media platforms. Underneath that, she'll post one of my, I think we have like 6 lead magnets at the moment. When people sign up for my lead magnets, they join my welcome series, my story sequence, I call it, for email. They get 10 emails there. In those emails, they get pitched my products. They also get my favorite essays that I've written. They get links to my podcast episodes that I've been on. If they do buy my product, okay, they then get about 20 emails of more value. Inside those emails, they get pitched my other products. And what this means, right, if we just step back in here, a 2-minute tweet can create hundreds of hours of consumed content, thousands of dollars in revenue. Someone goes from stranger to follower to fan to customer to potentially a high ticket client. And all I did was just share my thoughts online. That, my friend, is leverage, and that's why writing is the shit if you want a life of freedom. And speaking of writing being the shit, that leads us to reason number 6. Writing will get you laid. Sorry, I'm joking. It will get you paid. It really hasn't gone well on the other side for me. Writing will get you paid. Look, no one really cared about a disgruntled dentist who didn't like his job. You know, so I'll go cry some more and play some golf. But when I quit my job and I started taking risks and I started learning all of these things and sharing it online, I began to attract a group of like-minded people who were interested in the things that I was interested in. And that meant the more I wrote, the more problems that started coming to me that I could solve, okay? So we had shared issues, and suddenly I just had so many options for things that I could build to help people. And so all I've been doing this whole journey has been solving my own problems in public, right? So it's almost being selfish and then selfishly sharing how, and then inviting people to invest if they would like to take part too. The cool bit about the internet is that you're not limited by geographical boundaries, okay? So if you have some weird niche interests, like for example, I felt incredibly lonely as a dentist because everyone was just focused on like, oh, how many teeth could I drill to make money, or at least the space that I was in, which was cosmetics. And I'm there thinking about like deep life stuff and meaning and purpose and creativity and art. And I was like, man, what is wrong with you? Except you'll probably watch while you're still watching this video. You're probably like, well, that's all the things that are extremely important, right? It's because we have shared values. And the cool bit with the internet is that the more you write, the more you get to attract people in that space. So, you know, in the past, let's say you would make benches in a town, you're limited by like 500 people, and how many people need a bloody bench, right? But online, you can reach the world at your fingertips, okay? And the more you write, the more people you attract, the more they trust you, the more problems that you can solve, the better you can solve them, and the more people will pay you to do it, because people trust brands, especially in an age of AI, when everyone is relying on this low trust, zero cost content crap that they're putting out. If you're sharing stories, if you're a real person showing your rough edges, people will want to work with you over everyone else. People will want to learn from you. And that leads me to the final reason, and it's actually the real reason why writing is so profitable. It's not because you're good at sales, but you will become good at sales, by the way, because writing is the backbone of every sales pitch, emails, ads, YouTube videos. It's all writing in the backbone, but it's not actually the sales side of things. It's what writing creates as a result. And so this leads us to the reason number 7, and that's writing creates a connection. When people say that the internet is too busy, they're not wrong, okay? We live in an age of almost infinite noise. But the problem, or the opportunity here is that when information becomes so abundant, it is connection that is scarce, right? It's writing that makes us feel something. It's writing that creates emotion. And so we just have all this world where we're just getting bombarded by short form content that's, 5-second videos and all these clips. But actually, writing is the best magnet for connection, because when someone sets aside the time to read your words, okay, even if it's 30 seconds on social media, a 3-minute email, or if you go down the book writing stuff like what I'm doing now, if you can get someone to sit with you for 4 to 5 hours to read your writing, oof, they are going to be fans for life. And it's crazy, like the opportunity that connection unlocks. So for example, over over 250,000 people read my stuff. It is incredibly fulfilling, and it gets me up every day with a smile on my face, knowing that I can go and write stuff. People are going to read that, and hopefully it's going to change the way they think, feel, or act. Or, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just entertains them. But I cannot believe that that is my job. And that there's almost that resistance to that, because like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like suffering. But that is the point. If you love to write, you will build relationships on the basis that you're writing well, guide at the bottom. You will build relationships with people that love what you read, what you're putting out there, And so when that happens, your business just gets cooler and cooler. There's almost like a flywheel of fun going on. And that is the way you want to build your life. And it's all on the backbone of relationships. So yes, it's still worth writing online in 2025. It's always going to be worth writing online, okay? And the people that are kind of making up excuses and all of that, great, let them do their thing. You crack on, because you're not competing with the crowd, you're going to be competing with the survivors. And the key is to make sure that you are sharing more of yourself, okay? That you're leaning into connection, vulnerability, storytelling, trying to deliver insights that actually change the way people think, and they're not just brain farts about LinkedIn hooks. So enjoy yourself as you're writing. People will enjoy themselves as they're reading. I hope this helps, and make sure you grab that guide down below. Cheers.